So you're thinking about quitting art. You're done. It's just not working out. But wait, did you consider this? Because while you watch me draw this, I want to go over everything that you might not have considered, that you might be overlooking, and I want to help you try and rediscover your passion, rediscover your interest for why you got into this in the first place, and then you're free to decide to do whatever you want. Now, I want to go ahead and just put this at the forefront because right now, everything's really raw, feels really intense for you. And this is something that I want to put right there in front of your face so that you can't ignore it. So let's just say that you go ahead and you give in to how you feel right now, okay? You're going to give up. You're not going to do art anymore. Okay, cool. So let's walk down this path. What are you going to do instead? And I've thought about this for myself. I'm going to be raw and honest with you. I've thought, well, you know what? Maybe this isn't for me, or maybe this isn't working out, or maybe I'm not as good as I thought I would be. Okay, well, what would you do instead? Well, you'd be able to play a lot more games. That sounds really cool, right? You'd be able to watch all those shows that you're not able to. Cool. You can finally get caught up on the movies that you want because you're not pouring hours of time into developing your artwork. Hey, you can finally get caught up on that watch later list that you have on YouTube. You know, the one that you're never able to get through. Sounds fun. Now you're going to be a ton more available. You can go ahead and do everything that you want with everybody that you want at any time that you want because now you're no longer constricted by your commitments to your artistry, right? Okay, cool. But let's walk down this path here. How long do you really think that you can do that before it just starts to feel hollow? How long before emptiness creeps up into your life? And how long before guilt sinks in? So when I started my job 10 years ago, I worked with this amazing guy. He was a chemistry teacher. He was just like life of the party, so much fun, great energy, and hilarious, but so sagacious in his own way too. Phenomenal guy. And then leading up into that point, and then after he retired, he said that he wanted to start a podcast. Well, just last week he passed away, and he was only 69. And I look back on that and I just think, wow, I think that's how most people live their lives. And this man, fantastic legacy. However, though, he had a dream that he never fulfilled. And that is how most people live their life. And the way that most people live their life is by trying to fill that gaping void with doing things that don't matter to them, by engaging in activities that don't serve them. And for you as an artist friend, okay, I know that this is tough. And I know that sometimes it's slower than you want. And I know it often takes longer than you think or wish it would be, right? But at the same time, have you ever considered this? What are you going to do instead that's going to be so incredible? Because I just want to offer this to you. Most people die not fulfilling themselves and not doing what they want or not pursuing what they want. Even the pursuit of what they want is something that's incredibly valuable to you as a human being, as we'll talk about throughout this video today. And that's something that I want to put in front of you. So you want to go ahead and you'd rather just give up this pursuit of artistry to go ahead and be a brain rot couch glutton, just an absolute creature of comfort. And you're going to be one of those people that we call mediocre. Is that really what you want? Do you want to get to the end of your life and just say like, wow, so happy, I just played it safe? And we're going to talk about today too, why this is so difficult for you to do. And it's not just you. It's not just me. It's not just artists. It's everybody. Why is it so difficult to live a life that's true to you? Because I want to put that at the forefront of your mind here. If you're going to give up art, what the heck are you going to do that is just as meaningful and honestly, just as perilous? Now, let me put out here a really common concern that I see from a lot of artists, and especially artists that feel like they have no hope, no promise, and they're not able to achieve what they want, and they haven't hit it, even though they've been working on it for a long time. This is you, let me know down below, because I'm here for you, friend. And it comes down to this. Do you feel like you are not an artist because you have not achieved anything in this life? Do you feel like you are not an artist because you don't have that job, you don't have the client base, you don't have the money? And we'll talk about all the monetary aspects, but here's what I'm really digging at right here. Do you feel uncomfortable of donning the title of artist because you haven't achieved that status? Because my friend, I just want to put this out there. Being an artist is not a status, okay? You don't have to have a job title that says art or artist anywhere in it, okay? In order to be an artist. You do not have to have an income that supports you as an artist to be an artist. You do not have to have a massive following of a whole bunch of lurkers that don't really care that much about you in order to say that you are an artist. You don't have to do that, friend. Let me just break it down for you. Being an artist is a choice. Being an artist and the engagement in creative activities and creative labors is a choice that you will make that serves you. It is the minutia of your decisions that makes you an artist, my friend. It is the involvement of whatever project you're working on that makes you an artist, my friend. It is just you admitting to yourself, I like this and I'm going to do this and I'm gonna work at it even if nobody sees it. If you're somebody right now who's just got a sketchbook that you keep in your desk at home and you doodle in it every single day, guess what? You're more of an artist than 99% of the population that just gave up back in middle school. And let me just go ahead and break down why I think that this happens. First and foremost, everybody, as far as when you're up through elementary school, you start to figure out that art might not be for you, especially by the end of elementary school. Most kids get talked out of or talk themselves out of art, not because they're not good enough, not because they haven't had the experience, not because they actually believe in talent or anything like that, though that is when talent perceptions actually start to come about and you start to construct that. But it's because they usually have a bad experience. And then that kind of compounds itself into middle school. And this is when kids get mean, right? And this is typically when you're going to start to meet teachers that might tell you that you're not good enough, you have no promise. This might be when your parents start to buck back and they start to do things to sabotage your development. This might be as well too when somebody laughs at your artwork. And then you get through high school maybe, and then that gets even worse. And then you get assaulted with this thing called like a job. Oh, you gotta have a job, you gotta be realistic. And we'll talk about that today. And I think that one of the major things that I would just wanna urge you to consider is that just your election to be a creative is an amazing, amazing choice for you because you're doing it for you. You're not doing it for anybody else. At the core of what will sustain you as an artist, you have to come to understand this and you have to find this in yourself. You have to do this for you first and foremost. Even me, as I'm drawing this for a client right now, I do this artwork for me. This fills me first, client second. Honestly, client third. Like honestly, it comes down to my learning and then growing me and then finally the client. And the thing I want to put out there for you, friend, is that you don't need anybody to tell you you're an artist to be an artist. It's a choice that you make and it's a choice to keep a part of your humanity alive. Have you considered that? Or did you maybe forget about it? Now, let me tell you a really amazing thing that you probably forgot about, and it's gonna really help to shape your opinion about what you wanna do from this point forward, because it's your call. You can quit, you can not quit, but I'm just trying to lay it out for you so that you can cover all your bases. And so one of the things that I think that you really want to consider is living a life that's very passion forward. And so on this note, one thing that I want you to consider is how are the people around you living their life? Are they living their passions? Are they living for their passions? Are they actually exhibiting any kind of passions? Do you know people that just go ahead and they exist and they survive and they are just drones? And what a sad life that is. I always think about that. And this doesn't mean that like you have to be an artist in order to be happy. I'm not saying that at all. But like when you exist as an artist, and again, this is not a status, when you participate in this artistic community, when you participate in something that's really great and meaningful, you are tapping into an amazing superpower, which is that you are going to live a life that's led by your passions. Now, the thing I also want to put this out there for you is that you don't have to have art as your job to saying that you're living with passions for it. Because the way that I don't think most people really consider this is that you can go ahead and support yourself in one of two means. Number one is that your passion is your paycheck. Like for me, like art is literally all I do. It's all of my income. The other way you can think about it is this: your paycheck supports your passion. So what if you started to think about this? Obviously, for all of us, not everybody is able to be in that place. I respect that. So what if whatever job it is, at whatever status it is, at whatever income level it is, what if you just accepted the fact that, okay, I have to do this so that when I get home, I can actually do what I want. I actually do something that's really fun. I can do something exciting. And tell me, how many of y'all have a great project out there? How many of you have something really amazing in your mind? And you're just frustrated because you're not able to get that out yet, or it's not at the level that you want yet, or it's not at the notoriety level that you want yet. And being passion forward in your life is not about you achieving anything. Living passion forward, the greatest achievement is the fact that you actually just did it. And the most amazing thing that I always notice is that when you are passionate about something for a long duration of time and you are consistent with it, guess what happens? Other people want to check you out. Other people want to be and bask in the warmth of your glow, of your passion. That's how you're actually going to attract people. It's not about the amount of art or the amount of posts that you make or the amount of engagement that you get. No, friend, it's about this. If you're sincere about your artistry, people really love authenticity and they love sincerity. If you are wanting to eventually launch something, launch a product, or do something that involves some type of monetization, this is a key aspect that I want to put out there for you as far as why. But even without that, you get to engage in something that is amazing to you, and you are living a life just through that alone that's better than the vast majority of people who surrendered it, abandoned it, totally gave it up because they were talked out of it. And that brings up so many different things. I'm gonna go over it all with you through this video today. And it's something that I think that I really want you to really appreciate. So let's say that you do want to call it quits right here, okay? Here's one thing that I think that you're sacrificing that you might not have considered as well, is that when you want to be an artist and you examine the creative life versus the uncreative life, here's one thing for your consideration. You might want to consider how you are fitting into a mold that honestly, you don't want to be a part of. Okay, so here's what most people's lives look like. And in general, what you do is you go to work, you go to school, you go do chores, you come home, you eat, and then you watch TV, and then you just go to bed. And when you really think about that existence, does that just light you up? Does that make you so excited? And I also look at this through the lens of like my own development. Like my parents came home, ate dinner, watched TV, went to bed. What a boring, miserable existence that really is as a human being. Like there's so much more that we can do in life than just that. But unfortunately, that is what most people do. And when you're an artist, what is really cool about what we get to do is that we get to come home and we get to say, okay, cool, that's done, that's over with, these chores are taken care of, my kids are asleep, I've taken care of everything I need to. Now I get to work on me. Now I get to do the things that I want. And you actually get to do something that everybody thinks about but never acts upon. Because at the core of being an artist and being creative is you are creating. And there are so many people, tell me, how many people do you know that have these amazing ideas and never even pull the trigger on it? And the best way I've ever heard this described is that everything sounds great around the dinner table until it comes time to actually do it. But you as an artist, listen, even if you're struggling, even if you haven't made as much progress as you wish, even if it's not the level that you wish it was, you are doing more than 90% of people on this globe. And that is tremendous, okay? And one of the things that I always recommend people do is this. When it comes down to what you want to do, what you're pursuing, okay? Don't focus so much on perfecting it that first time. Like just as an example, I have a mentee who is really big into making their own board games. Amazing idea. And he's really passionate about it. And so he asked me, well, Sean, I've heard that this is like 1 to 2 years to go ahead and really crank it out and perfect it. Should I do that? Or do you have a better idea? I was like, I think that's a terrible idea. I think that you should try to crank out 3 to 4 different games of all different concepts. And through that process, you are going to be a beast. So sometimes what you want to do, if you have a personal project, okay, have a project before that project that you don't maybe have the same investment into, but you're going to use it as a learning experience. You're going to fine tune your systems. You're going to go ahead and figure out what works, what doesn't work. You're going to figure out all those road bumps. So then when it comes time for your crescendo performance here, you are really going to kill it. And so if you give up that lifestyle of actually diving into the thing that you want, the thing that you're actually passionate about, this is where we tap into a really awesome component of us, which is just our humanistic desires. And that's so commonly overshadowed, and it's hard to do. And because of that, here's the great thing I want to let you know. If something is hard to do, that's because everybody else is unwilling to do it. And this comes in a lot too, like if you have competition in your art market or in your sphere or whatever, just think about it like this. If you're ever saying to yourself like, well, Sean, this is hard, or that's easy for you to say, I know. Good news, everybody else is also saying that. Now, as we're going through this one, I want to help and support you even more like this every single week. And if you're into that, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe. And hey, look, if this is helping you, friend, please share with somebody that you know, because I bet you know some people that are having the same exact concerns right now, and I want to help reach them too. All right, so what haven't I covered so far? Let's talk about, obviously, the biggest elephant in a room, which is economics, all right? And I think that this entangles itself with a lot of big topic. I could literally make an entire talk just about this one, but I'm gonna shorten it up for you right here. When it comes down to your artistry, I think, again, another thing that people tend to kind of install their artistry or their artistic value with is with their economic value. Are you here too? Are you saying to yourself like, well, Sean, I don't make any money, I don't have any clients, I don't have any revenue, nobody's getting my stuff, I don't have art as a full-time job, and because of all that, I can't do this anymore. It's just not right. And so one of the key things I want to just expose for you right here is that, first and foremost, you being an artist, and the reason why you started being an artist, had nothing to do with economics. So it's confusing why you now start as an adult or a young adult, you start to entangle the two concepts, because they're not. When you really get down to why you started to make art, okay? When you were a little kid and you first started, dragging a pencil around, you started pushing paint and crayons, right? Why did you do it? You did it because it was fun. You did it because it was meaningful. You did it because you enjoyed it. And then as you grew up, then you got this concept absolutely hammered into you, which is that you can only do things that bring about revenue. You can only do things if it's economically valuable. You can only do things if it's economically viable. Well, that's a really lousy way to live your life. And I know in this ultra-capitalistic society, you have this drilled into you that you are worthless if you don't have a net worth. But that's not right. And so what I want to offer you is that by being an artist, you're delving into your actual humanistic side, your humanistic needs, your humanistic desires. Because at the base of this, y'all, understand this, being an artist is not about getting rich and making money. It's about you creating artifacts of your humanity. If you've never heard this before, hear it now, but art is not a product. Art is an artifact of humanity, and we latch onto those artifacts as human beings because we see the symbolic significance of it in everybody that we come into contact with through their artwork. You think it's like, oh, it's such a pretty picture. Oh, what a pretty girl. Like, ooh la la, look at that. But really what you're unconsciously tapping into is someone's human experience. And that can't be taken away from you. And by you diving into those humanistic skills, what does that do? That brings about better happiness, it brings about more fulfillment, it combats your anxiety, it combats your stress, it de-escalates everything in your life. It helps to give you a safe place and to retreat from some of the things that you might be going through and help you go ahead and process some of those troubles and traumas that you've been through in life. But this obsession with mechanistic value is so deranged, you can't fall for this, my friend. You can't become a victim of this ultra-capitalistic perspective where you only have value in what you do if you're bringing in money. Now, as artists, we're always trying to get better. We're trying to increase our skills. We're trying to make something cooler. We're trying to outbeat the last thing that we did, or at least see some progress. And so because of that, though, there's one major skill set that is wholly overlooked by most people. And I think art is a wonderful vehicle for this one because it's one of the things I've discovered, especially through my research for my dissertation. And it comes down to this. When you are engaging in artistic activity, you're not just learning how to make prettier pictures. You're not just learning how to make this type of character or that type of character or this type of a dragon or this type of a landscape. No, friend. What you're actually doing is you're engaging in a form of personal development that most people have totally forsaken. One thing I always say to people is that you can't separate the art from the artist. And what I mean by that is that everything that you're experiencing in life and have experienced in life is encapsulated in your art. And so one of the things that you also need to come to understand is that if you're hitting a plateau, if you kind of feel like there's just a ceiling, I can't bust through it, what am I doing wrong here? It might just be that you need to work on yourself more. And so the thing that I've kind of realized, especially through my artistic journey, is when I'm there, when I'm alone, when I'm working on my craft, when I'm laboring on whatever it is for myself, for a client, I'm constantly with my thoughts. And the most challenging part of being an artist, and the reason why I think that most people give up this pursuit, isn't because of economics, isn't because it's hard. It's because they're uncomfortable being with themselves. They are so uncomfortable with being alone with their own thoughts. There's this really famous quote, and I forget who said it, but it says, "The root of all problems in the world stem from the fact that man cannot sit alone in a room quietly by themselves." And I think that rings so true, don't you think? So many people are so obsessed with always being distracted and always having some type of hyper-stimulus event happening around them. But for you as an artist, you're slowing down and you're alone with your thoughts. And when you're alone with your thoughts, it's not always good thoughts, is it? And so your art is a way for you to process, and it's a way for you to heal. And I think that there's more healing that needs to take place all the time with us as human beings. And your art can be the most fantastic vehicle for you to do that. And I'll talk to you today about how to do that too. And the thing I just want you to really consider, right, is that by giving up your art, you're also giving up a part of yourself. Are you willing to make that sacrifice? Do you really want to? Now again, you want to throw in the towel? Totally your choice. One of the things though that I think might be spurring that on though is a really common demon that we all have to battle. One of the things that I really want you to dig yourself into is that just by being an artist, just by making something, okay, is that you're also learning an ultra valuable skill. It's really rich, and I don't think anybody talks about it enough, so I want to with you. And it is the skill of how to ignore the attention economy. And so much of our lives are robbed by attention. And when you just think about it like this, right? You cannot walk out your door without being assaulted by 20 different stimuli. And so one of the most toxic cycles that I think we go through as artists is starting to think that we have to value ourselves based on what we get in return, based on the attention that we get. And so for you as an artist though, you get to have this amazing skill in the 21st century. You get to slow life down. You get to just pause all that. And you get to just work on you, work on something that means something to you. And learning how to ignore the attention economy, I posit, is one of the most valuable 21st century skills for anybody to do. And for you right now that's in despair because you don't have likes and you don't have followers and you don't have enough engagement and you don't have enough support for it, I really want to expose what this is. You just want validation. And although you might have heard this before, I really want this to hit home. Nobody is going to support you until you support yourself. If you are not willing to find that reason for what you enjoy and to tap back into that real reason that you like to create, not for other people, not for profit, not for product, but because you enjoy it, nobody is going to support you on it. And so you're looking for attention instead of self-validation. Have you considered that? But this one skill I'm gonna advise you on is gonna make you a tremendously happier, healthier, and oftentimes wealthier human being. How's that sound? Let's talk about an often obscured aspect of being an artist that I think is a really powerful reason for why I've been able to persist as long as I have for the last 30 years doing this. And when I think about being an artist, one of our superpowers might be our imagination. And regardless of if you find yourself creative or you find yourself imaginative or lack thereof or anything, all right? But we have it. And the thing that I want to present to you is that most people learn how to kill their creativity by talking themselves out of being a creative. They say things like, I'm not creative, I'm not talented, I have a rotten imagination, I'm not as good as this person, I'm not as good as that person, and this person's built different, and I'm just the same as everybody else. And so what you've done there, just to point it out, is that you've literally convinced yourself out of being an artist like most people do. And first and foremost, just to reject that, creativity is a default. It's not a choice, it's not a birthright, it's not an innate ability, it's not a superiority that you're born with. Everybody is creative, every child is creative, you just learn how to talk yourself out of it. And so what you reject with that rhetoric is you reject a secret world that you have access to. And I want to tell you why this is so important for you as an artist, because I believe everybody needs this, but I believe that artists construct this in a really healthy manner, which is that as you're going to go through the trials and tribulations of life, life will suck at times, fair to say? You need a healthy retreat. And so at the crux, if you really want to go ahead and lay it out, the cause of most anxiety, depression, and a lot of exacerbations of a lot of illnesses that people feel is the fact that we have created a plethora of grossly unhealthy retreats. And so what I mean by that is that people have learned to retreat into digital worlds and fake spaces, and they actually force themselves into cycles where they re-trigger their anxiety, they re-trigger their depression, and they don't work themselves through it because they just numb it. But for you as an artist, you have access to this amazing secret world inside of you that's rich and teeming with your human experiences, with things that actually matter to you. You're not trying to numb yourself, you're actually engaging in an environment in which case you can heal yourself. And I want to go ahead and put this into this context, okay? You might have your own comic, you might have your own game that you're designing, okay? And that's amazing, that's so cool. You inevitably are going to find a lot of parallels in what you're designing and what you've experienced. The trials and tribulations of your characters oftentimes mirror that of the creator. And you might have seen this as well with some of your favorite IPs as well. Have you ever? That's not that surprising, because oftentimes what you're going to do is you're always going to write conflict from your own personal perspectives. Through you having access to this secret world, this like secret garden, you get to grow that. Whereas most people, they've long gone and just destroyed it, laid waste to it, let it rot, but not you, friend. And that's a level of care that most people will just not engage in. Now, from an artistic researcher's perspective, I want to offer this to you too. Oftentimes, I think that we conflate intelligence and art, and especially when it comes to talent on that note too. And so one of the things that I want to just go ahead and dismantle, and this is from literally reading hundreds of articles and books on this one, is that there's absolutely no correlation between your intelligence and your artistry. It does not exist. There's no test that validates this. There's absolutely no findings conclusive to this whatsoever. And this is over the course of the last 200 years. And so with that, one of the things that I think that a lot of us really tend to overvalue is we tend to really overvalue the mathematical and scientific sides of intelligence. And so one of the things that you get to do as an artist is you get to instead invest into a very different type of intelligence. And one of the things I've always noticed is that when I talk to artists, okay, and not to glorify all artists this way, because I'm just gonna be real, some artists are just really freaking weird. At the core though, as an artist though, you learn to think differently. You learn to think and approach things in ways that people don't. In fact, that's why creativity is one of the #1 skills that every job market wants right now. And why is that? Because as an artist, as a creative, we have a different approach, and it's ultra valuable for you way beyond artwork. Like learning how to have a little bit of play every single time that you approach a problem. Learning how to create your own problems is a major superpower for art. Did you know that you're a troublemaker? You literally create your own problems. And I say that artistically speaking, like we design these difficulties for us to learn how to break out of it. It's like we create our prisons and then bust out of them ourselves. And I think that as artists, we tend to really forget about this, but it's an amazing quality that's very exclusive to creatives, and you get to grow that skill set. And how does that transfer? It transfers not only into your own artistic projects and endeavors, it also therefore transfers into what do you do and how do you handle life circumstances. If you can be creative in one aspect, you can be creative in other aspects too. And this is a really rich human skill that you might be forgetting about. And tell me, like, have you ever utilized your creative thinking to solve a problem or to resolve a circumstance that people around you just couldn't? And how do you do that? It's through your engagement in creative activities. And what's amazing is that most people will never even try. Isn't that sad? Regardless of what you've heard so far, you might still be feeling down. You might still be feeling out. You might still be feeling like, well, this isn't for me. I'm not liking it. I'm not getting the results that I want, Sean. I'm not getting the returns. Okay, well, let's run through this. Why do you feel that way? And is this because of your art or is this because of your life? And so one of the things that I often notice is that we are all too ready and willing to go ahead and make art our sacrificial lamb for our circumstances of life. And my friend, I just want to put this out there. Is art really the issue, or is the issue really the issue for you? And in making a choice, like a lifelong one, like I want to give up my art, think about what is your life going to be like in the next 20 years? Because that might be a great 5-minute decision or 5-day decision, 5-week decision, but what's it going to be like in 20 years? Why do I say this? Because literally in my mentorship, I can't tell you how many times, which is almost every single time, that I start to work with somebody and they say something effective like, Sean, I kind of gave up my artistry 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. and I need to reinvest into that. I felt its void. I felt it was missing. I felt like it just wasn't fulfilling me what I was doing. And you might not feel that way right now. You probably don't. You probably feel like this is the best decision, right? But my friend, here's one thing I want to go ahead and break down for you. If you're feeling this way, if you're feeling lost and dismayed, is that every decision that you make in life is you either running towards something or you running away from something. And so the way I want to break this down for you is that in giving up your art, what are you running towards? Because every decision that you make is a yes to something and a no to a multitude of other things. So as an example, I'm married. That means that I've said no and therefore disappointed half of the global population. Sorry, ladies. And being a parent, I also said no to having much more lavish vacations and going out a lot more. And I also said no to hanging out with a lot of other people. And I also said no to just giving into myself and my own desires all the time because I have to care for another human being. And in the same vein of thought, that means something to me. It means something really important to me. It holds a lot of value that I'm married. It holds a lot of value that I'm a parent because I find a lot of value in that. I enjoy it even in the most difficult of times. And for you as an artist, okay, what are you running towards? Maybe you just need comfort for a minute. Maybe you just need some validation. Maybe you need to heal yourself too. And maybe instead of you sacrificing your art to do all those things, you can use art to do them all. Maybe you can use art in order to be the vehicle to transform yourself in order to better yourself. Have you considered that? Because all too often, one of the things that I see as a really bad practice is that people think, man, I just got to full stop, halt this. I got to deal with this, then I'll deal with my art. And my friend, I'm just going to point out for you, you just don't want to deal with the problem. If you sacrifice your art, you're also sacrificing a way for you to better handle that problem and for you to discover a solution to that problem, or for you to at least have a healthy retreat from that problem. It's a way for you to go ahead and re-injure and re-traumatize yourself very often. Have you considered that? And listen, this isn't easy. It's hard, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But my friend, what are you running away from if you're running away from art? And what does that therefore set you on the path for in the next 10 to 20 years? And so look, even if you're going through the roughest of times right now, I want to let you know that art can be the way to get yourself through. And to show you exactly how this can work for you, go and check out this video right here. I'm going to give you all my tips and tricks on how this can work. Thanks so much. If this helped you, share with someone that you know. See you next time.